Hi everybody, welcome to my continuing series of how to mod your DayZ PC server, all updated for 2024. And in this one, we're going to be, for the first time, actually installing a mod, because I want to go through the process so you become familiar with the steps that you have to take when you're installing a mod. Because there's lots of things you have to do, and if you miss one of them out or get it wrong, then things could go bad indeed, and it won't work. And if you get into a situation where something doesn't work, go back and start again. Okay, so in this particular case, we're going to be installing a really useful mod from Helkhiana called MuchStuffPack. And I like to use this one because we're basically adding lots of different useful and fun items to our server that will spawn in as loot, or we can spawn them in as loot. So it's going to involve adding to our types.xml. And also it has a dependency of another mod as well, and this is a classic thing that occurs through lots and lots of mods in DayZ, in the fact that you'll have the mod that you like and you want to install, but it will need another mod to work. In this case, it's the MuchFramework. Before we get started though, just remember that this is part of a whole series of videos, and you'll find a link to the playlist with all of them in the description below this video. You'll also find a next video link and a previous video link, because I'm trying to record them in somewhat of a logical order so that each video builds on the knowledge of the last, so eventually you'll be at the stage where you're ready to carry on with your DayZ server modding, PC modding experience, going on to much more advanced things. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing about mods is that they're hosted on the DayZ workshop, and you can either log into them via the web, or you can fire up the client, and you can go into community workshop, do a search for DayZ, for example. There's the workshop, and you can look at items and look at everything that's been popular over the last year or this week. And generally you click on something you want, for example, and you'll click on subscribe. Now it's really important that you have a good read of what's underneath, because often mods will have nice detailed instructions on how you install it, and also they'll have links to things like Discords or GitHub repositories or websites that have instructions on how to install it as well. Also, you'll have things like change notes, or that's a Discord. You'll have change notes, or you'll have, let's see if this one's got them, discussions and comments. And these can be really good. Comments can be excellent, because if you're having a problem with the mod, and you've done the things that you think should sort it out, always come and have a look at the comments, because there could be something that the author of the mod is working on, and say, look, terribly sorry, but this isn't working at the moment. Or there may well have been an update to DayZ, or a dependency that the mod relies on, which means the mod doesn't work anymore. And there's nothing you can do, doesn't matter how many times you do it, until the mod owner updates it, then it still won't work. So you can just roll the change back and not do it. So always remember that. And less is more when it comes to mods as well. Don't overload your server with lots and lots and lots of mods. So we've subscribed to MuchStuffPack, we've subscribed to the MuchFramework, and what happens is when you open up the DayZ launcher, it will download all of the mods that you've updated, and it will download them to your local computer, so they'll be sitting there ready to be uploaded to your server. Now in the previous video we installed FileZilla, and this is the FTP program we're going to use to upload lots of these files. And you need to use a FTP program, a file transfer protocol program, because some of the files we move are too big to move via the web browser that we were using for our XML and JSON mods. So what we're going to do now is we are going to have a quick look through the instructions of the MuchStuffPack, and then we're going to crack on. It helps to know what the mod actually is. So in this case, MuchStuffPack is lots of things that are added to the server, basically objects and items. So it's not changing a game mechanic, it's not adding helicopters or a vehicle or snow or anything like that. It's adding objects. So we can have a good idea, okay, so if it's adding objects, we're probably going to have to at some point add to the types.xml, and then maybe CFG spawnable types.xml. Maybe that, it depends if any of the objects need to spawn in with things. So anyway, so we can scroll down. So add MuchFramework to your server. So it's saying, okay, so the first thing you need to do is add MuchFramework. So let's go and have a look at MuchFramework and just check what it says. What is MuchFramework? Is the best framework for standardizing your base building mods. This framework has code lock integration. So that's something to think about as well. It's like, okay, so if we're installing this, it's got code lock integration as well. That's interesting. So here we've got support. Any issues, join Discord. There we go. I will not accept Steam or Discord invites. And of course, you can always go and throw your favorite modder some money. Remember that they're all doing this for free, so that's very good. So there we go. So MuchFramework, we've really just got to upload to our server and turn it on. And let's have a look about MuchStuffPack. So MuchStuffPack, people having problems with items disappearing. No. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be downloading it. And although Helkhiana isn't specific in how you install it, because we are adding items to the server that are going to spawn in, there will be a types.xml entry that we have to put on. So we fired up DayZ Launcher. DayZ Launcher has downloaded, if we find it, MuchStuffPack. Let's find it somewhere. MuchStuffPack. There it is. And what was the other one called again? The other one was called MuchFramework. Okay, so they should be next to each other. MuchFramework, MuchStuffPack. So they're both there. So let's go and have a look at them on our local computer first. So if we click on this little arrow here, click on the 3 dots, and click on Open Folder in Windows Explorer, this will take us to where the mods kind of are stored. These are really just shortcuts, but for the sake of this video, this is where they are. So they're actually in C on my computer, Program Files, x86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, DayZ Workshop. So let's find, so there's MuchStuffPack there. So let's go into it and have a look. So we've got the add-ons. So this is like the powerhouse of the mod. So this is the code that runs the mod. We don't really, there's nothing for us to really see in here because we don't need to understand anything. The keys, this is very important because this is a key that we're going to upload into the key folder on our server. It's very important that we remember to do that, otherwise the mod won't work. And then extras. Now this is super important. This is where we can see the extra bits. So what Helkhiana has included here is some patch notes. We can open them up in the text editor. If I press the right button, what am I doing? Close. Share. We didn't want to do that, did we? Patch notes. Edit with Notepad++. There we go. So we've got some patch notes. So Helkhiana is just telling us what she's added. Now, what's very nice about this is we have the MSP types. So we edit with Notepad++. So these are all the types that are included. So Helkhiana has given us inside the mod all of the types that we need to add to our types.xml. But what she's also done, which is very, very cool as well, go away, Copilot, is she's actually, go away. What she's actually done as well is she's given us new types and new items. Now the reason for this is that as new things get added to the MuchStuffPack, if you've already got it installed on your server, you might just want to add the new thing because you don't want to add the whole of the types again. And so this is really cool because that allows you to do that. Go away, close window. So that's very nice. It's a nice way. Now, sometimes for mods, the types entries, or maybe the CFG spawnable types entries, or maybe other things aren't included, and you've got to go to their Discord or their GitHub to get hold of those. But in this case, they are included, so that's nice. Also, I'll just tell you at this point as well, is when you're adding types to your PC, to your community server, there are 2 ways of doing it. There's the way that we're going to do it now, which, to be honest, isn't the top level official way that DayZ would like you to do it. And the fact that what we're going to do is we're going to add all of the types in a big chunk to our server's existing types.xml. So we're just going to copy and paste them into the top. When you get more into this, there is a way that you can use the server economy files to actually have your server just refer to a separate types, this MSP, and just look at that and then add them in. Now, long term, when you really get into server modding, and if you decide that you like it and it's something you enjoy doing, then by all means do it that way. And the advantage of doing it that way is when you have to update things, when you have to update your server, when you have a server update, that makes it a little bit easier to do. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it the wrong way, if you like, because it's actually simpler to do that way. So we know that's there as well. So we know we're going to have to add these types to it as well. So that's good. So what we're going to do now is, well, let's just get these uploaded to our server. So we've fired up FileZilla. So File, Site Manager, 1BG is the one. So let's hit connect. So it's going to connect. In fact, we're already connected. Here we go. So there's DayZ standalone. As you can see, I've already uploaded the MuchStuffPack, and I did this already because it's quite a big one, and my computer is very, very slow. So on the right hand side, this is our remote server. On the left hand side, this is the local server. So as you can see, I'm already in the workshop file, but what I could do, workshop folder, what I could do is if I just go up the top and left click at the top here, then right click and copy that address. We can go back to FileZilla and we can just paste that in, and we're there. So I'm just going to left click on DayZ standalone, and then I'm going to come over here, and we wanted MuchFramework, didn't we? So I'm going to right click on MuchFramework and I'm going to say upload. And that is going to upload. Hopefully it's not going to take too long. It shouldn't be too big. Fingers crossed, otherwise this is going to be a long and boring video. Okay, that's good. So that's uploaded. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to upload the keys. So if we look on the right hand side, we can see there's a folder here called keys, and there's only one key in it at the moment, which is the DayZ by key, or DayZ Bohemia Interactive key. But if we open up MuchFramework here and we open up the keys folder there's Helkhiana. So we can right click that, upload that, and that should appear there. And then if we go into the MuchStuffPack and we open that up, we can see we've got keys, and then we can right click and upload it. It's going to say, well, this is the same one. What do you want to do? So I'm going to say overwrite it. And you find this with most modders. What they'll do is they'll have the same key for lots of their different mods. Not quite sure why they do this. Maybe if a modder's watching this, they can tell me why they don't have different by keys for all their different mods. Not sure. So there we go. So we've got the keys in place, and we've got the mods in place there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to have a look and add those types.xml to our server. And again, there's a few different ways of doing this, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to our server in the file browser, in the web browser, sorry. So we've gone to our server, and we're going to go to the file browser like this. And we're going to go to the file browser like this. And then we're going to go into DayZ standalone. And we're going to go into the MP missions like this. We're going to DayZ offline Generous Plus like this. And then we're going to the DB directory. You probably know where I'm going. And we're going to download the types.xml file. So we're just going to download it to our local computer. So it's going to go into our downloads folder. There it is. Now I'm just going to open up a new folder. We're going to call it MuchStuff Types. There we go. And then we're just going to copy and paste that one into there. So hopefully, so this is the types we're going to mess around with. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to open this with Notepad++. So this is, I don't think we've made any changes to, oh yeah, we did, didn't we? So in a previous video, what we did was we boosted this loot, didn't we? We doubled the amount of loot on the server, which is great. So we're just going to make some space at the top. And, you know, we opened up the server with the extras from MuchStuffPack. We're going to edit with Notepad++, so that's already there. And so as you can see, we've got types at the top, and we're not going to copy the types bit. That's just there if you want to use it as a separate file and then get your server to access a separate file. But as I say, we're doing this the kind of the hacky way. It's not the best way of doing it, but it's the simplest. In the fact that we're just going to grab, sort of left click right there, and then we're going to waggle our cursor, go all the way down to the bottom, like this. All the way to the bottom. Now we're not going to take that final type, so we're going to stop there. See how we haven't selected that? And we're going to right click, and we're going to copy that. We're going to go to our types file, and we're just going to Control-V and copy it all in. We're just going to add something else, though, in the fact that we're at the end here, we're going to do left arrow bracket exclamation mark dash dash end of MuchStuffPack types, like, and then we're going to go dash dash right arrow bracket, and that's just so we can remember that. Okay, so we've got all our vanilla settings down below, and then we've got MuchStuffPack there, and then we're just going to save that, and we're just going to have a quick look through. Sometimes you'll find when modders include types entries with their mods, sometimes they'll do it and they won't be set up to work. So for example, there's the blunderbat, not quite sure what that is, so one of those will spawn in. It's classed as a tool, it's classed as a military, and you'll find it in tier 3 locations. So Helkhiana has included everything we need to get that spawning in on Churnerus. Let's choose another. I guess there's lots of weapons, isn't there? We went too far then. There we go. So there's eggs. I've got no idea what these eggs do. So there's MuchStuffPack egg green. So 10 of them. It might be a food. I don't know. There's a nominal of 10. They're classed as clothes. And they're on shelves and they're in villages, which is great. So everything is there. But sometimes you'll find things that won't have category. If there's no category tag and there's no usage tag, it won't spawn. If there's no nominal value, it isn't going to spawn or something like that. So that's good. So everything seems to be okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go back here. I'm just going to left click this and I'm just going to change it so it just says types. So backspace. Now it actually says types.xml, but Windows hides the .xml bit. So that's ready to re-upload to our server. But as you know, what do we always do before we upload to our server? We validate it. So we're going to go to our XML validator, and we're going to choose the file we want to validate, which is in downloads. It's in MuchStuffTypes. We're just going to click that, and we can say open. Because we may have well made a mistake when we were copying and pasting. The modder may have made a mistake when they uploaded the files. Are we all not human? No errors were found. So that's brilliant. So we know this types should be fine. So here we go. So we can go back to our types. We can click upload file. And MuchStuffTypes, there it is. And we can say open. And that's now going to upload that over the top of the existing one. In fact, what we could do is we could click on it, open it in the web browser. Again, don't recommend you edit things in the web browser, especially types, because it's too big. And we can see right straight away MuchStuffPack melee. So there we go. So the types is there and ready to go. Right, let's go back to MP missions. Okay, so at this point we've uploaded the PBOs, the @ things, and we've uploaded the types that goes into the type, so that's good. But what we haven't done yet, and this is the easiest thing to forget to do, is we haven't told the server to start with these mods. So this is where we need to go back to settings general, and we scroll down to this bit here which says additional mods. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to where the mods were in the workshop, and generally dependencies go first. Okay, so we're just going to left click that, and then we're going to right click and say copy. So we're copying the name. We're not trying to type it. We're going to go back here. We're just going to paste that in like that. Now we're going to put in a semicolon like that, which is the comma with the dot above it. And then we're going to go to here, and now we're going to put in the MuchStuffPack. So we're going to just left click that, right click, copy that, take that out. Go back here, and we're just going to Control V. So we've got MuchFramework and MuchStuffPack. So if you are working with a server that gives you access to the windows.batch file, or the batch file that starts your server, this is the line. So in that start line, and when you're working on a local server, you know how we have the start line where we put the mods in. That's what this is. Nitrado doesn't give us access, unfortunately, to that on PC servers because it's a shared box in a data set somewhere, so we have to do that. So MuchFramework, MuchStuffPack, save changes. Tell you what I'm going to do as well is, I know that CFG gameplay is overruled by expert settings, but just to make sure, I'm just going to save that as well. There we go. So now the server is, when we restart it, it's going to start up with the @MuchFramework and the @MuchStuffPack, and it'll know to look into these folders for the PBOs, the kind of the powerhouse that runs the mod, and then it will know, because we've updated the types, it will go in and it will look at the types and it will start spawning all of that stuff in. There we go. So that's now restarting. And that, my friends, is the basis of how you're going to install many mods. Now, this was a relatively simple mod in the fact that we had one dependency, then we had the mod itself, and then we had one set of XMLs that we had to add. For this particular mod, we didn't have to add any settings. In fact, what we can do, if we go into FileZilla, if we go into FileZilla there, we can maybe see if it's added any. So certain mods will add settings. So if you can imagine, the mod is almost like its own little app that's running on your server, and sometimes it needs to save some data about itself. Could be, say, something like, say, an admin mod, which we are going to install in one of the next videos. The admin mod needs to know who's allowed to be an admin, and it saves that data inside the config folder. Now, the config folder can be called config, or it can be called profiles, or it can be called settings. The way that you kind of know is that it's in the DayZ standalone directory, and when you open it up, if there's mods that need to use it, you'll see the mod names but without the @ sign. So if, for example, MuchStuffPack needed to have some settings, in here we would see MuchStuffPack, and we would go into it, and then it would have some settings. A classic example would be an airdrop mod that you could then adjust. Often they will then have a JSON file that will have the settings about where should the airdrops drop, how often should they be, what stuff should they have them in them, and the little program, the little file that controls that will be inside the config or the profiles or the settings folder, and the folder that it will be in will be called, for example, if the mod was @airdrop, the folder in here would just be airdrop, and it would be there. So there we go. That's how you do it. Hopefully that's given you a nice broad outline of, well, how to install a mod. I like this one because it's nice and simple, and it's put loads of stuff in. The next mods we're going to install, well, the next mod we're going to install is going to be an admin mod. And that's very important because it allows us to test to see if things work. Anyway, that's enough from me. Hope you found that useful. See you again soon.